Yeah, that's how it started. That moment, that slap. The burn on my cheek still felt fresh, not because of the pain, but because of the humiliation. Let me rewind exactly 7 minutes before that bastard tasted concrete. It was Saturday. The twins, Ethan and Noah, were watching cartoons in the living room. I was setting the grill in the backyard, family barbecue day, something I planned for weeks. Burgers, ribs, even that fancy corn salad my wife Casey pretended to like. And Casey? She was acting like she didn't belong there, like it was some stranger's home. She scrolled her phone like it had her real family in it. Didn't help that she wore that tight red dress I hadn't seen since our anniversary 3 years ago, tight enough to get a man in trouble just looking. I called her out. Babe, maybe something a little less. Nightclub? She looked at me like I was a bug on her windshield. Don't start, Tyler. I told you we were having company. Company? The doorbell rang. I opened the door. And there he stood. 6'4", muscles too tight for his fake designer shirt, teeth too white to be real, tattoos crawling up his neck. He didn't shake my hand. Just walked right past me like he owned the place. Casey smiled like he brought the sun with him. This is Darius, she said, glowing like a damn teenager. He's a friend. A friend? The kids didn't recognize him. Neither did I. But he made himself right at home. Sat on my couch. Kicked off his shoes. Put his feet on the coffee table like this was his place. 15 minutes later, I was pouring drinks. Casey was laughing like she hadn't in years. Not with me, at least. Darius leaned over, whispered something in her ear. She giggled and slapped his chest. I gripped the bottle tighter. Then it happened. He stood up, walked over to me in front of the boys, and said, word for word, "You're done, bro. I'm the man of the house now." I blinked. "I'm sorry." "What?" He looked at Casey. She didn't flinch. Didn't say a word. Just stood there like some proud queen. And then it came a slap. Open palm. Across my face. In front of my kids. My body froze, but my blood boiled. I looked at Ethan and Noah. Their faces twisted in confusion, fear. I could feel my fists curling. My jaw locking. And Casey? She smirked. That smug, conniving smirk. Like she planned this. I lost it. I tackled that bastard so hard the glass table shattered beneath us. My fists didn't stop. I heard bones crunch, his, not mine. I remember him screaming when I twisted his wrist till it cracked like drywood. Casey yelled, "Stop. Are you crazy?" "Darius." Paramedics came fast. Guess she had 911 ready the moment I snapped. They dragged him out, moaning, face unrecognizable, hand shattered, dripping red. Cops showed up too, but neighbors backed me up. Darius at first. I stood in that living room, shirt ripped, knuckles bleeding, breathing like a wild animal. Casey looked at me like I was the problem. "You've ruined everything," she hissed. I looked at her. Truly looked. And for the first time, I didn't see my wife. I saw a stranger. A liar. A traitor in red. I wanted to scream, to cry, to ask why. But all I said was, "How long?" She blinked. "What? How long has he been the man of this house?" That smugness faded. And the kids? They just stared, silent. I had no words for them yet. But I knew one thing. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. This was just the beginning. The house was quiet after they took Darius away. Too quiet. My boys had gone to their room. I could hear Noah crying behind the closed door. I wanted to go to them, to tell them everything would be okay, but I didn't even believe that myself. Casey sat on the armrest of the couch, arms folded, ice cold. No guilt. No fear. Just annoyance. Like I had ruined her dinner plans. I paced the living room like a caged animal. My knuckles were swollen, still pulsing from the beating I gave her so-called alpha. The guy had called himself the new man of the house. In my house. In front of my kids. "What's going on, Casey?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. "How long has this been happening?" She rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic, Tyler. You're acting like a victim. I am the victim. Oh, please." She stood up, brushing non-existent dust off her dress. "You've been boring for years. I needed something more." That word. More. It hit harder than Darius's slap. I walked over to the fireplace and picked up the photo of us from our honeymoon in Maui. She looked so happy in that picture. I looked like a man who had no idea his future was about to rot from the inside out. "So what? You just invited him here to humiliate me in front of the kids?" I asked. She shrugged. "He wanted to meet them. We were thinking of going public soon." I almost dropped the frame. "We? You're serious?" You were going to introduce him to the boys? As what? Their new dad. She didn't answer. Just looked down at her nails like she was bored of the conversation. I should have known. The signs were there. The late-night yoga classes. The sudden interest in lingerie she never wore for me. The constant texting. The business trips she took alone. One night a few weeks back, I'd found a hotel receipt in her coat pocket, downtown, 2 nights, king suite. When I asked, she claimed it was a spa weekend with her sister. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But the truth was, she'd been slipping away for months. I just didn't want to face it. I walked into the hallway and opened the drawer where we kept all the junk. There, tucked behind the expired coupons and broken pins, was her old phone, the one she said stopped working. I charged it. Took less than a minute to unlock. What I found made my stomach twist. Pictures. Videos. Messages. I miss your hands, she wrote. Tyler's gone. Come over. I can't stop thinking about last night. And the worst one. A video of her in our bed, the sheets I slept in, whispering to Darius, he has no idea. It's kind of exciting. My hands were trembling. Not from rage this time, but from heartbreak. She didn't just cheat. She enjoyed betraying me. When I came back to the living room, she looked at me with that same defiant expression. You saw it, she asked. I nodded. And, I hope he survives, I said calmly. Because I wanted to remember what I did to him. Her lips curled into a half-smile. You're pathetic. No, Casey. I was loyal. I was loving. I was a husband and a father. You? You're just a story I'll have to explain to our boys one day. She didn't respond. She just grabbed her purse and walked out the door without another word. I didn't follow her. I just stood there in the silence, realizing that the woman I married had died a long time ago, and I'd been sleeping next to a ghost. She came back the next morning like nothing had happened. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a mug of black coffee I hadn't even tasted. The boys were still asleep upstairs. The house felt like it had been drained of its soul. And then I heard the key turn. She strolled in with sunglasses on, no apology, no hesitation, just dropped her purse on the counter and said, I hope you cleaned up the glass. It was everywhere. That was it. No, sorry about yesterday. No, are you okay? She was colder than a January wind. I couldn't believe the nerve. You're unbelievable, I said, standing up slowly. My voice wasn't raised, just sharp, like a scalpel. She took off her sunglasses and looked at me like I was the one out of line. Don't start, Tyler. I'm tired. I stepped closer. Tired? You're tired? You brought another man into our house, let him disrespect me in front of my kids, and now you want to act like I'm the problem. She crossed her arms. You are the problem. You've been holding this family back. Your job, your routine, your boring little BBQs. I needed more. More of what? Lies? Deceit? Getting manhandled in hotel rooms while I put our kids to bed. She flinched. Just a twitch, but I saw it. That was the first real reaction I'd gotten out of her since this whole thing started. I pressed on. I saw everything, Casey. The texts. The videos. You weren't even trying to hide it. She looked away. You were never supposed to see that. But I did. And now you're standing in my kitchen acting like I should apologize for defending myself. She shook her head, almost like she pitied me. Darius made me feel alive. You just made me feel stuck. And what about the boys? I snapped. Did you think about them while you were sneaking around, getting cozy in hotel beds? While you let that clown walk into their house and claim to be their new dad? They'll adjust, she said, her voice suddenly icy. Kids are resilient. They'll see what a real man looks like. That was it. That was the moment something inside me finally broke. You call him a real man? A guy who slaps another man in front of children? A man who's now lying in a hospital bed because he couldn't keep his hands to himself. She blinked, but didn't respond. I stepped closer, close enough to smell her perfume, sweet, expensive, and suddenly revolting. I took vows, Casey. I gave you my best years. I gave you my name, my children, my soul. And you gave me betrayal in return. She scoffed. Spare me the speech. No, you don't get to walk over this like it's just another inconvenience. You blew this up. You ruined us. Then she did something that pushed me past the edge. She smiled. That smug, unapologetic smile that said she had no regrets. Like this was all part of her master plan. I'm moving out by the end of the week, she said casually. I'll file for full custody. The boys deserve to be with someone who's not violent. I stepped back, stunned. You're going to try and take my sons from me? She turned her back to me, heading toward the stairs. Better start packing, Tyler. Because you're not going to win this. I watched her go, shaking. Not from fear, but from rage and heartbreak bleeding together into something I couldn't name. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence that used to be filled with Casey's soft breathing. Now, it was just me and the weight pressing down on my chest. It felt like someone had ripped out my insides and left the shell behind to rot in slow motion. I wasn't just angry. I was wrecked. Everything I thought I knew, everything I believed about love, loyalty, trust, was shattered. The woman I had once defended against the world had now teamed up with a stranger to destroy the one thing I held sacred, my family. I kept replaying it over and over again in my head. The slap, the smirk, the videos, her telling me I was the problem. Each time, I felt like my chest tightened a little more. At around 3 a.m., I went into the kitchen and sat in the dark. I pulled out my phone and opened the family album. There were pictures of the boys at the beach, Casey kissing me on my birthday, her dancing in the kitchen with flour on her nose while we made cookies. That woman, she wasn't real. She was a mask. A con artist who played the role until the curtain dropped. I scrolled further back. There was a picture of me holding Ethan for the first time in the hospital. I looked terrified, proud, full of purpose. I remembered that moment, promising myself that no matter what happened in life, I would protect him and Noah. But how do you protect your children from their own mother? The next morning, I made them breakfast. Pancakes with chocolate chips, Noah's favorite. He barely touched them. Is Mommy okay? Ethan asked, chewing slowly. I looked him in the eyes and forced a smile I didn't feel. She's okay, buddy. She just needs some time. He nodded, but I saw the confusion in his eyes. I knew what it meant. Kids feel the tension even when we try to hide it. He heard things, saw things. That slap, that moment, it changed everything for them, too. Later that day, I called my best friend, Kyle. He'd known me since college, been the best man at our wedding. When I told him everything, he went dead silent. She cheated on you, in your own house? He asked. Yeah. And the guy hit you in front of your kids? Yeah. Jesus, man. He sighed. That's evil. You okay? No. Not even close. We sat on the phone in silence for a few seconds. Then he said something that hit me hard. You loved her more than yourself, Ty. That's why it hurts this bad. You forgot that you're allowed to draw the line. I hadn't realized how true that was. For years, I had excused her mood swings, her distant behavior, the cold shoulder. I chalked it up to stress, kids, work, hormones, anything but the truth. I kept thinking if I just loved her more, gave her more, she'd come back to me. But you can't love someone out of being a traitor. That night, I sat on the porch and watched the sun go down. The air was cold, but I barely felt it. I wasn't just mourning the end of a marriage, I was mourning the man I used to be. The one who believed in forever. The one who thought that loyalty was enough. It wasn't. And as I watched the last light fade, I knew one thing with complete clarity. This pain wouldn't kill me, but it would change me forever. 2 days after the incident, Casey was still in the house. Not because she wanted to make peace, but because she was stalling, dragging her feet like this was some game she controlled. She'd barely spoken to the boys, barely acknowledged me, just floated through the house like a ghost in red lipstick. But I wasn't playing anymore. I sat down at the dining table with 2 cups of coffee. She walked in wearing one of her silk robes, the same kind she used to wear on the nights we'd stay up late watching movies, the nights we felt like more than just roommates. But now, it felt like a costume, just fabric hiding the venom underneath. Sit down, I said. She hesitated, but curiosity got the better of her. Fine. But if this is another guilt trip, spare me. I didn't flinch. I slid a thick folder across the table. Legal papers. Divorce. Custody arrangements. The whole damn thing. What the hell is this? I'm done, I said flatly. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. She flipped through the pages like it was a joke, then looked at me with fake innocence. You're really going to break up our family over a mistake? Mistake. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on hers. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. You planned this. You brought that man into our home. You let him put his hands on me in front of our sons. That wasn't a mistake. That was betrayal. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. You don't have the spine to take me to court. Try me. Her eyes narrowed, the softness gone. I'll ruin you. I'll take the kids. No, I said firmly. You won't. I've already spoken to a lawyer. I've got the footage from the doorbell cam. I've got screenshots of your texts. I've got witnesses. And most importantly, I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one who's fed them, bathed them, helped with homework. You're just the woman who shows up late and smells like cologne. I saw it in her eyes. The first crack in her armor. She wasn't expecting this version of me, the version that had nothing left to lose. You think you're strong now, she snapped. Wait until you're alone, Tyler. You'll come crawling back. No, I said quietly. I'll be rebuilding. That same day, I moved her things into boxes. She screamed, cried, even laughed at one point, calling me pathetic. But I didn't stop. I was mechanical numb. The love I had for her had been burned down to ashes. All that remained was duty to my boys, to myself, to whatever came next. The next morning, she was gone. She didn't even say goodbye to the kids. Just sent a text. Tell them I'll call when I'm ready. Coward. I sat with Ethan and Noah and told them the truth, or at least a version of it that their young hearts could understand. Mommy and I won't be living together anymore, I said gently. But I love you. And I'm here. Always. Ethan nodded, but Noah clung to me like the world was crumbling. Maybe for him, it was. That night, I stood in the doorway of their room and watched them sleep. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Custody battles. Court dates. Holidays split in two. Questions I'd have to answer 1,000 times. But for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. The storm had passed. Now it was time to rebuild. The first week without her felt like learning to breathe again. Every room in the house echoed with a silence that used to be filled with her presence. Her perfume still clung to the curtains. Her shoes were gone from the hallway, but the dents they left in the carpet remained, like ghosts that refused to leave. But slowly, painfully, I started putting things back together. I changed the locks. Not out of pettiness, but peace. The doors she once walked through like a queen no longer opened for traitors. I painted the walls in the hallway, just to cover the memory of where she used to lean and text him while pretending to scroll Instagram. I rearranged the bedroom, flipped the mattress, burned the sheets. I didn't want a single thread on that bed to carry the sin of betrayal. It wasn't anger anymore. It was cleansing. The boys started adjusting. They asked less about her each day. Ethan stopped waiting at the window around dinner time. Noah didn't cry when she missed another weekend call. And she did miss them, 3 calls in a row. Always an excuse. I was busy. Bad reception. I'll make it up to them. She never did. I started seeing a therapist. A man named Dr. Gray. Former Marine. Quiet voice, sharp mind. He didn't speak in riddles, he listened, then told me the truth whether I liked it or not. She didn't betray you because of something you lacked, he told me during our second session. She betrayed you because of something broken inside her. People like that feed off chaos. You were just the meal she chose. That hit hard. Not just because it was true, but because I had blamed myself for so long. Maybe if I'd been more romantic. Maybe if I'd made more money. Maybe if I had noticed sooner. But the truth was, some people ruin good things just to prove they can. One evening, I sat on the back porch with Kyle, my best friend, the one who'd stuck by me through it all. He brought over some beers, and we didn't talk much for the first half hour. Just sat and watched the sunset. She ever try to come back? He asked finally. Not yet. He nodded slowly. She will. They always do. Especially when they realize the next guy isn't a fairy tale either. I didn't respond. I already knew Darius had disappeared. Word got around he left town after getting out of the hospital. No charges were filed. He was too ashamed to even press them. The slap that started it all ended with him crawling away like the coward he was. Funny thing is, I didn't even hate him anymore. He was just the symptom. She was the disease. That night, I found myself doing something I hadn't done in months. I laughed. Not because something was funny, but because the weight was finally starting to lift. I was still standing, still breathing, still fighting for my boys. And I realized something else, too. The worst day of my life, the day I got slapped in front of my kids and humiliated by the woman I loved, was also the day I got free. Because when someone shows you who they really are, and you finally believe them, that's the first step toward healing. I wasn't healed yet, but I wasn't broken anymore either. I was rebuilding brick by brick. And this time, I'd make damn sure the foundation was made of something that couldn't be faked. It happened on a Wednesday. I was in the middle of getting the boys ready for school. Ethan couldn't find his other sneaker, and Noah had spilled orange juice all over the counter. We were running late, as usual, and the chaos was loud but honest. Real. Ours. Then the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there she was. Casey. Standing there like she hadn't detonated our lives just a few weeks ago. Wearing a beige coat over her favorite blue dress, The one she wore the night I proposed. Hair curled. Makeup flawless. Like she'd rehearsed this moment in the mirror 100 times. Tyler, she said softly, her eyes glossy with fake regret. Can we talk? The boys peeked around the corner. Noah whispered, Mommy. She smiled at them. That same smile she used to fake her way through 1,000 lies. Hi, baby. I missed you. I held the door halfway open. What do you want, Casey? She gave me the look, the one she used when she knew she was in trouble and needed to spin the script. Just a few minutes. Please. I told the boys to finish getting ready and stepped outside with her, pulling the door shut behind me. She folded her arms and lowered her voice. I messed up. I know I did. I stared at her. Took you long enough. I thought I knew what I wanted, she said, her voice cracking just enough to seem real. I thought Darius was different. He made me feel alive, and I confused that with love. I didn't say a word. Let her keep digging. But he's gone, and I've had time to think. You're a good man, Tyler. A great father. I want to come back. There it was. The return. I almost laughed. You think this is a movie? I said quietly. You cheat, humiliate me in front of our kids, almost tear this family apart, and now, because your boy toy ran off, you just walk back in and pick up where you left off? Her face hardened. I didn't expect forgiveness. I just want a second chance. For the boys, at least. For them. I repeated. You left them. Missed every call. Skipped visits. Do you even know what Noah said last week? He asked me if you were dead. Because that made more sense to him than a mother who just disappears. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't flinch. I was past that. I'll fight for custody, she said, voice trembling. You know I will. Then fight, I said. But you better bring more than a fancy dress and crocodile tears. Because I've got everything. The messages. The videos. The hospital report. You lost the right to call the shots the day you let him put his hands on me in front of our sons. She looked like she'd been slapped. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. That was the last straw. I stepped closer, looked her dead in the eyes. You loved the idea of me, Casey. The version that paid bills, played house, kept the image clean. But real love? Real love doesn't cheat. It doesn't bring another man into our home and call him the new father while our kids watch. You didn't love me. You used me. She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Just air. I turned the handle and opened the door. You want to talk? Get a lawyer. But until then, stay the hell away from my kids. Then I closed it behind me, locking her out for good. Noah looked up at me. Is Mommy coming in? I knelt beside him, placed a hand on his shoulder. No, buddy. Mommy has to figure some things out. But I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time in a long time, I meant it. It's been 3 months since I closed the door on Casey for good. The court granted me primary custody. She didn't fight as hard as she said she would. Maybe she knew deep down that whatever she used to have over me was gone. Maybe she finally saw what everyone else already knew. Her power only worked when I still cared. But I didn't. Not anymore. Ethan started sleeping through the night again. Noah laughs more now, real laughs, not the forced ones kids used to cover up confusion. We've got a rhythm going. School in the morning, dinner together, movie nights every Friday. I never thought peace could feel this strange. After all the chaos, silence feels suspicious. But I'm learning to trust it. One evening, I sat on the porch watching the boys chase fireflies in the yard. Their giggles echoed through the air like music. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't waiting for something to go wrong. I was just present. Carl came by that night with 2 beers. He didn't ask if he could stay. He just dropped into the chair beside me like he always did. So, he said, cracking his bottle open, you ever gonna date again? Or are you becoming the neighborhood monk? I laughed, genuinely laughed. One crisis at a time, man. He nodded. Good. Don't rush it. You've been to hell. Enjoy the quiet. And I have been. But I've also been reflecting, digging deep into what happened, why it happened, and what it taught me. You don't come out of something like that the same, man. You either break apart, or you break open. For a long time, I blamed myself. I thought maybe I hadn't been passionate enough, rich enough, exciting enough. I thought maybe love meant sacrificing until there was nothing left of me. But that's not love. That's self-erasure. The real lesson? Don't ever apologize for being loyal to the wrong person. Apologize to yourself for staying too long. Casey wasn't just a mistake. She was a mirror. She showed me everything I needed to fix in myself. My inability to set boundaries. My fear of confrontation. My belief that loving someone meant saving them, no matter the cost. I won't make that mistake again. If you're reading this, and you've been where I've been, lying awake wondering why you weren't enough, looking into the eyes of someone you'd die for only to realize they'd sell you out for a thrill, let me tell you this. You are not the problem. You are not weak for loving hard. You are not broken. They are. And when they leave, or when you finally find the strength to shut the door behind them, don't chase closure. Create it. Piece by piece. Day by day. Start with small victories. Make your bed. Cook dinner. Take your kids to the park. Look in the mirror and remind yourself that the version of you who survived betrayal is stronger than the version who thought love was supposed to hurt. That's the lesson I learned when Casey walked out. That's the man I've become since she left. Not bitter. Not broken. Rebuilt. As for her, last I heard, Darius never came back. She tried dating someone new, but it didn't last. Word is, she's already burning through bridges she hasn't even crossed yet. But that's not my story anymore. Mine ends here, on a quiet porch under a calm sky, with two boys chasing fireflies and a man who finally remembered who he was before she tried to rewrite him.